So good afternoon, all of you. So I am here just to discuss about the scientific interrogation method and legal impact. So crime scene to court. As far as my knowledge is concerned, and I was in CFSL, CBI, in CFSL, DFSS, as a forensic scientist, there is a role from crime scene to court. And in crime scene, every forensic scientist is required from all disciplines. So there we are making a composite crime scene team. In crime scene team, there is a one forensic scientist from each discipline. And for example, there is any crime scene from ballistic, one person from chemistry division, for biology division, for forensic psychology. In the same way, we are visiting the crime scene with the whole forensic scientist team with videography and photography. And in many cases, we are taking the forensic medicine doctors from AIMS, from different medical college also, and they are also the team leader. So in that way, our duty is from crime scene to court. So every discipline is important from the crime investigation. Nowadays, the government is focusing on the conviction rate. So this is my point, that every discipline is important. So forensic psychology, forensic serology, biology, forensic photography, cyber forensic, all are important. So different scientists have different role. So I am discussing about the scientific interrogation. So about a crime, nobody knows. Neither the judge, advocate, forensic expert, police investigator, nor the media. Nobody knows about the crime. Only the victim and offender, they knows about the crime. And both are the human being. When the investigating officer is investigating any cases, that time investigating officer has to deal with the human subject. So there is a question how they will deal with the human subjects, because Human Rights Commission is also here, and this is the humanitarian approach to deal with the subject in proper way. So there is a technique there, we can get the information from the subject in scientific way. So the forensic psychology is unique area in forensic science. Here we get the information directly with human being. And the forensic psychologist can identify the deceptive and truthful person in any type of situations. So detection of deception through forensic psychology. So forensic psychological technique in crime investigation. You will see nowadays in every crime scene, the crime pattern has totally changed. In many crime scenes, you will see material evidence, eye evidence may not be available. But anyhow, you will get some suspect and victim. That is the human being. So here the expert with the investigation, with the interrogation, with the conducting interview with the suspects, and can find out something that can lead to the investigation. So forensic psychology is an applied field of psychology which measures the behavior to understand the behavior behind the crime and offense. So the evaluation of human behavior in investigation through forensic psychological technique can be useful for investigating officers. So advantage, what are the advantages of this technique? Because psychological investigation align with modern moralities by replacing third degree method. This is the main thing. And the main objective of forensic psychological investigation techniques to identify the culprit. And it gives direction to the investigating officer. And we are profiling and identifying criminal pattern in cases of serial offenders. So that's why forensic psychology is required. So the user CBI and IA, armed forces, IB, other law enforcement agency, all they are using the different forensic psychological technique. Where we can use in different type of crime cases, we can use in white collar crime, in homicide suicide case, special crime, economic offense, in anti-corruption cases, in bank fraud, in terrorism cases, we can apply the interrogation technique. Because in any cases, the first question is who did this? Who? The who, for who we have to find out, we have to apply different interrogation technique. So there are some technique, polygraph, brain fingerprinting, narco analysis, layered voice analysis, suspect detection system, forensic psychological assessment, forensic statement analysis, psychological autopsy, and criminal profiling. So now we are not going to discuss about detail in every technique. In summary way, we discuss some points and how it is legally important. I'll discuss that thing. So basically, we use this technique to identify the deceptive person. And the main thing, every time I am saying, it exonerate the innocent. In many cases, you will see in jail also, many people are there without any forensic evidence. So with this technique, we can help they are innocent and they are not involved in the crime under investigation. It replaces the third degree method also, and we can obtain the maximum information about the crime with the help of all these techniques. It identifies the perpetrator of the crime. For white collar criminal, for cyber criminal, it's a very useful. Next. So there is, after the Supreme Court judgment, in some technique, the consent of subject before a judicial magistrate is required. In polygraph, brain mapping, and narco, the consent of subject is required in front of the judiciary. But for other technique, the consent of subject in front of judiciary is not required. Only the expert will take the consent. Next. So only narco analysis technique, this is invasive technique, because here the expert induce the drugs, but all other technique are non-invasive, no drug induced in other technique. Next. So why we are using these technique to check the veracity of the statement of accused, suspect, witness, and complainant. In every cases, there are suspect, there are complainant, witness, accused, and they are saying something. So investigating officer has to verify their statement. So with the help of technique, we can verify their statement. So nowadays, importance of human right, because if you will see the post-violence West Bengal cases, first human right they visited there, and after that the case was registered in CBI. In many cases was registered. So when we are using these technique, how we are using, so this is we are main focusing on the importance of the human rights. So these methods do not violate any rights of human, as they are done by establishing rapport with the subject, by taking informed consent with the subject, and explaining the right to refusal also, and done after ensuring their mental and physical health. So this is the main legal thing. When we are conducting any test, we are take care of all these things. So polygraph, as this is the first CFSL CBI lab, they established first polygraph division, an equipment which is used for the purpose of lie detection test. So polygraph, poly means many, graph means graph. So simultaneously, this instrument record many graphs, so it is called polygraph. And the primary value of utilizing the polygraph technique in crime investigation is to differentiate between truthful and deceptive statement during an investigation. This is the main role of the polygraph. Next. This is the examination room with latest apparatus. Here the subject will sit, examiner will sit in different way, and all these the external attachment. So only the subject and examiner is allowed to sit in the examination room, and there is a one-way mirror. Sometime Human Rights Commission, sometime court nominated persons, that person will be present during examination. So that person can see the whole procedure from the outside. This is our laptop. Sometimes we are doing the cases in jail, sometimes doing outside due to some security reasons. So we are taking this thing. So all these are the external attachment here. 2 pneumogram sensors, 1 galvanic skin responses, 1 blood pressure cuff, and all these are the external attachment, no drug induced. You can see here the attachment. Next. See. Next. So what is the scientific base of polygraph examination? So every lie detection test are based on psychosomatic interaction of the individual. Psycho means mental, somatic, physiological. So there is always a correspondence between human mind and body, which is the basis for the development of lie detection, truth verification technique with polygraph. Whenever an individual is under any mental stress, the physiological state also changes. This machine measures only that thing which is controlled by the autonomic nervous system. So that's why in USA it is called as psychophysiological detection of deception. So in this polygraph, we are measuring the 3 parameters, the 4 parameters: respiration, blood pressure, pulse rate, and galvanic skin resistance. And all these are controlled by autonomic nervous system. So anybody cannot control any internal behavior which is controlled by the polygraph equipment. And here we are asking the question relevant, irrelevant, and control questions. So relevant question is directly related with the case, and other are the irrelevant and control questions. Next. So this is the procedure. First, we are conducting pre-test interview, question procedure, chart interpretation, post-test interview, then result and analysis. Next. This is the chart. You can see these two for respiration. This is GSR and this is blood pressure and pulse rate. See how the changes are coming. The point at which the subject answer on relevant question and he is telling lie. So see how the changes are coming. Next. See, this is the real graph. And all 3 parameters, there are changes. It shows that subject is not telling truth on that particular relevant questions. See, there are many cases. This is the very famous Sofian rape and murder case. So there was a agitation in Srinagar for 6 months, and the case was rape and murder. So in that case, the one case was registered in CBI. There was a team, constituted team by the CBI. And in that team, every expert from every division was present. And from this AIMS, there was a team of doctors, forensic medicines expert was also there. So when the examination was done, so all the police persons, all other persons, they were ready for the polygraph examination. But the doctor who gave the report, who conducted the post-mortem of the victim, and he refused for the test polygraph. So that was really, it shows how she is cooperating in the test, and because she submitted her own vaginal swab sample instead of one of the victim. And the case was totally twist, and there was a 6-month hesitation. So many people were arrested in that cases, and with the help of different technique, it was clear that this was the not rape and murder cases. This was the drowning cases, and that was proved by the AIMS medical doctor. So here, as a forensic psychologist, we conducted the interrogation technique to find out the truth and deception. In this case, you see Pathankot air base attack. The case was registered in NIA, National Investigating Agency. They were investigating this case, and the subject was SP Salvinder Singh. So there was the issue main because the Punjab police officers illegally abducted and later released by terrorists. So this was the question mark. Why the terrorist released him? So there was the issue whether he is involved in terrorism activities, whether he has any conversation with the Pakistani terrorist, and whether he did some conspiracy. So after the polygraph examination, it was clear that he is not involved in any terrorism activities. So on that basis, he was given the clean chit. And there was 2 times, there was 2 teams. They investigated the whole cases, and NIA and the Home Ministry, on the basis of polygraph test, they cleared that he is not involved in the terrorism activities. So I am focusing this thing. We are not only accusing, only on the basis of test, we can eliminate the innocent. That is most important thing. Next. See this Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist Mohammed Naveed case. When we are conducting this test, because he was present there, everybody can see that he was present there. But why it is required to conduct the test? Because on the basis of examination, we get some information, other information that can be useful for the investigation. So after the polygraph examination, we get many information, and that information lead to recovery and arrest of the other terrorist. Next. In Bombay bomb blast case, in Yaqub Memon, 8 days polygraph test was conducted, and it corroborated with the other forensic input. Next. So there is a brain mapping technique. So Farwell developed this technique, and this technique means it connecting evidence collected from crime scene with the evidence stored in the brain of the perpetrator of the crime. So mainly in India, Dr. Mukundan developed in the name of brain electrical oscillation signature profiling, and both technique it identify whether this information is present in the brain of the subject or not. Next. So it is not invasive technique. It doesn't detect lie as such. It examines whether the specific information about the crime is present in the memory of the suspected person or not. So it provides evidence to identify criminal and terrorist accurately and scientifically. Next. So scientific base of brain mapping test. The human brain stores all information acquired through experience and learning. When a crime is committed, a record is stored in the brain of the perpetrator. So the brain of the perpetrator is the storehouse of the experience knowledge. The technique can be applied only in situations where investigators have a sufficient amount of specific information about an event. So here we are presenting two type of probe, visual probe and auditory probe. So visual probe related to crime scene, other crime scene, and directly with the crime scene neutral scenario, we are presenting on the computer screen. In the same way, we are making the auditory probe relevant to crime, other crime, confirmed issues, neutral word, and we are presenting on the sequential manner to the on the computer screen. So these are the sensor, EEG, electrocapillary sensor. Next. See, the subject is watching the on computer screen the visual probe, and subject is not supposed to give any answer. Only the brain will react. Next. See, this is the graph. How we are getting the graph. Next. See here, the response absent and response present. The graph will come. If any probe, the response is present, it will come like that. Narco analysis. This is. So narco-analysis, it is also called drug hypnosis, and it is technique for recovery memory under trance situation. Previously, it was done only for the mental health, because many times, there are many cases, they have dual personality, they are walking in the sleep, at the time of sleep also, they are doing different issues also. So only for mental health purpose it was using, but in 1940, it was used as an alternate to third degree murder. So here, not only consent, permission from the court is also required. And it is a combination of hypnosis and narcosis to retrieve the memory of the subject. It is an invasive technique, so legally complete video recording is required. The report will be submitted in the court with the CD. Next. So here we have to follow the NHRC guideline. Consent and direction from the court is required. It has to be conducted in OT facilities. Presence of team of expert. Subject will give consent, and dose depend upon the subject age, health, and physical condition. And anesthetist doctor will give the dose. This is the Veno OT facilities, and this is the team. Anesthetist, psychiatrist, expert, supporting nursing staff, videographer, and whole procedure of the narco analysis has to be videographed, and the record has to be maintained as these are the evidence. In Delhi cases, Bangalore court directed, so narco analysis was done and many information retrieved on the basis of narco analysis. In Ithari case, this was a very important case. This Surinder Kohli, during narco analysis, he revealed many information, and he revealed how he was doing the murder, how he's cutting the body, how he's cooking, eating, everything he explained during the narco test. So when the subject reveal anything, the IO has to corroborate with the other input. In narco test, if the subject is saying so many things, but every information is not relevant, so IO has to connect that information with the relevant evidence. So before proceeding the investigating method, psychologist at the forensic lab has to follow NHRC guideline. So polygraph examination is always conducted in absolute privacy. We have to maintain the privacy of the subject. So that's why examiner and subject is present. Police officer or counsel or any outsider is never allowed inside the room during examination. Examinee has a different legal right. He has the right to written notice before testing. He has the right to refuse. He has the right to discontinue a test and the right not to have test result disclosed to any unauthorized person. These are the legal right of the subject. The psychologist test conducted should be free from police interference and should never be conducted in police premises. Examinee should be made comfortable and should not be hungry, exhausted, or deprived of sleep when psychological tests are conducted. The investigating officer should make sure that the examinee subjects are well rested and physically fit when they are brought for the psychological evaluation. So these are the legal things when we are conducting, and we as an expert we have to follow all these guidelines. In the case of minor examinee, parents should be allowed to sit during the test. It is advisable not to conduct the polygraph test and narco analysis on pregnant women, those with respiratory problem, epilepsy, or those who are mentally unfit. Forensic laboratory psychologists make sure that the basic need of the subject have been met and ensure that they are in right state of mind during the process of investigation. So these are the guidelines when for investigating officer when they are submitting the case, they have to produce all these data and the copy of the consent of the subject recorded before a magistrate. Before magistrate, it is mandatory. Next. So Article 20, you cannot compel any persons to create any evidence against himself. So courts have directed and forwarded case for lie detection, mostly being used as a scientific aid to investigation and has to be conducted by a person other than police officer. The Supreme Court of India, by its judgment in 5th May 2010, Srimati Selvi and other state of Karnataka. So we hold that no individual should be forcibly subjected to any of the technique in question. So for that reason, the consent should be recorded before a judicial magistrate in presence of his or her lawyer. So after these Selvi cases, no ban on the use of polygraph, narco and bios, NHRC guideline to be followed strictly. Test reports are admissible as corroboratory evidence after judicial scrutiny, and all these tests extract information from the mind of the subject. So Supreme Court regulated how we will conduct this test. Some notable cases of narco analysis in India. A court in Kerala recently pronounced that no court order is required to do a narco analysis, disposing a petition filed by the CBI seeking permission of the court. The magistrate said that filing this type of a plea would only delay the investigation. The court said nobody could stand in the way of the investigating agency conducting tests recognized as effective investigation tool. In 2006 judgment Dinesh Dalmia versus State, the Madras High Court held that subjecting an accused to narco analysis is not tantamount to testimony by compulsion. The court said about the accused, he may be taken to the laboratory for such test against his will, but the revelation during such test is quite voluntary. In narco test where the accused is under the influence of drug, make confession in a semi-conscious state is not admissible in the court, but it has some validity as these results can be used to get admissible evidence, can be corroborated with other evidence to support other evidence. So Section 293 CRPC discretion to magistrate to admit any evidence based on the nature and circumstances of the case. Section 45 IA, it includes not only science but also the art wherein the expert can give his opinion. And the Government of India order is there. On that basis, ex officio chemical examiner of India, so they are treated as a chemical examiner of India. Their report is admissible in the court. So no court has prevented or objected it. It creates the and it has taken as a corroboratory evidence. And it is aid to investigating agency. Results are interpreted in conjunction with other material evidence. And if any recovery was done on the basis of these technique. So it has been taken Indian Evidence Act under Section 27, Indian Evidence Act 1972. Then it is admissible. So detection lie is not an easy task. And we cannot say this technique is inferior, this technique is superior. So any psychological test never prove guilty or innocent. That is the work of judiciary. Only we help the judge and jury to arrive any decision scientifically. So that way we are conducting the interrogation technique, and expert follow the human right guideline also. That's why it has legal impact. Recently in Shimla Korea rape case, you see the judgment came, and there they accepted the forensic psychological assessment and layered wise analysis as a corroborative evidence. So there are many judgment in India in many cases. So they accepted all the psychological test as a corroborative evidence. Thank you.